Let me catch up a little bit. The issue, rightfully, on everybody's mind is jobs.
Yeah.
Appropriately so. Now you can look at, in fact, I heard it again today, President Clinton on an ad for Obama. Oh, he denigrated what Romney has said, and he has every right to. You know, Romney is just talking about changing the taxes here, more taxes for there and less taxes for there. That isn't going to do it. That's nibbling on the edges. Same thing with Obama. You know, I haven't heard a plan. Clinton in this ad, maybe you've heard it, was saying, oh, Obama has a plan and we're going to strengthen the middle class and that's going to bring in jobs. Oh, really? What might that be? Obama's been president for 3 and something years. Why haven't we seen it yet? Why don't we see it today? Why are we waiting till after the election? What is it? He doesn't have a clue. Doesn't have a clue. We need to have an institutional change because we're talking huge problems with regard to jobs. What is our approach? Because we do have a plan, and that is to repeal the income tax. Now, just to have everybody catch up, to abolish the IRS.
Yeah.
So, what difference does that make? Well, and it's not subject to a soundbite, I'm sorry. But if we were to do that, today, by the way, and this isn't the reason, but it sure gets my attention, the General Accountability Office estimates that we as individuals and companies spend somewhere between $260 and $600 billion every year keeping records for taxes and preparing our income taxes. All of that would be saved because we would go to what I call a retail consumption tax. The retail level, not a value-added tax, no, retail consumption tax, and we'll talk about it again in a few minutes. In the meantime, what really matters is we have our goods, agricultural goods, manufactured goods, right here in our country, and we're going to send them out as exports. The problem is they have an unfair disadvantage because they have paid taxes on them before they leave our shores, and then they're competing with goods around the world that have not paid taxes on them. Hence, our products have a competitive disadvantage. Same thing in reverse. We have a lot of goods around the world, I don't care, Singapore, China, Japan, Chile, whatever, that have not paid taxes on them, coming in as imports to our countries, competing with our goods that have paid taxes on them, then everybody pays the same sales taxes. So it's a competitive disadvantage. If we repeal the income tax, we'll level the playing field. Now, I was on a plane not too long ago, and I'm on a lot of planes. I can't remember where I was going, but I was sitting next to an executive from Nike, you know, the shoe manufacturer. He was amazed. He listened to me. His eyes literally got big. And he said, Judge Craig, this is sensational. If we were to repeal the income tax, most companies would bring their manufacturing back to the United States of America. What does that mean? Millions of jobs. It's a reverse outsourcing. Millions of jobs back here in Wisconsin, in the Midwest, in all around the country. So we're going to revitalize those markets without even talking about hemp and the rest of that, which would be a different issue. Okay, so what's going to happen? People are concerned about it being regressive for the poor, and you were mentioning this in your question. And Governor Johnson is concerned about that too. How much would this be? I don't know. Let's say for purposes of discussion that it would be 20%. Wow, that's a lot. However, you do understand that if you are employed, you get a payroll check, you're not going to have any withholding at all for federal income tax, for Social Security, all that comes out of the retail consumption tax. You're going to have a lot more money in your pocket. That's pretty good stuff. But what about the poor? And Governor Johnson says that at least where I would say that we would have a rebate of every month for every adult, and he says every person, and we'll talk about that, but for every adult at least, from Bill Gates on down, of $200 a month. Okay, what does that mean? That means that if you spend $1,000 a month on goods and services, you end up paying no tax. If you actually spend less than that, that would be the poor, I guess, you'd actually make money on the deal. And how that rebate's going to come, I don't know. We're going to talk about it. The consumption tax, a fair tax, which as Governor Johnson calls, you know, I'm not necessarily sold on that, but a retail consumption tax. We'll worry about that later. It's a huge issue. Let's put our heads together. We'll discuss it. We should, because we're talking about confidence in our system and everything else. It's got to be revenue neutral, at least for the moment. But at least it has the benefit. If the Congress is going to, again, have the audacity of increasing taxes, at least we'll be able to see it. It'll be transparent. And if they're going to decrease taxes, this isn't decreasing taxes on increases in the future. If they reduce it to 19 cents, at least we can see it. It's transparent. It's equitable. And then we'll be able to address this very, very straightforwardly. This is the difference that we will bring. Now, ask yourself a question. And this is a long answer, and I'm sorry, but it's important. There are people that are against it. I have 4 groups. See if you agree with me. The first group, obviously, is the tax accountants, the tax attorneys. H&R Block does not like this idea. Okay, I can live with that, and I understand. Second group are the people that work for the IRS. We're going to abolish the IRS, so okay, I think we can live with that too. Imagine, with me, the amount of bureaucracy, fraud, and administrative costs that are going to be abolished when we abolish the IRS. It's staggering. This is really good stuff. The third group, though, is really huge, really powerful. Who would this be? Members of Congress. Why? Because today they get enormous political power by voting for tax breaks for their wealthy constituencies. They do not want to give that up. But when we're elected, we'll have such a mandate that you won't believe. We'll be able to go over the heads of Congress, tell their constituents, hey, if they're not voting for this, they're putting their interests ahead of yours. Talk to them. We will get this passed that way. They don't want to give it up. And who's the fourth group? And that is the wealthy constituents, the ones that have mastered the system, the ones that aren't paying taxes. Think General Electric, by the way. People like that. And I'm told that if we were to repeal the income tax, about 55% of the lobbyists in Washington would be out of work. Hey, not a bad idea. So this is what we are facing. Again, and you ask valid questions. I'm not really sold on the fair tax. I'm not really caring about what we do at the moment, because we'll have to discuss this, and we will. And by the way, final comment on this, we must repeal the 16th Amendment.
Yes.
We must repeal the 16th Amendment, calling for income taxes. Oh, Congress won't want to do that. Oh, let's just reduce income taxes to 2%, and then it'll just stay there. Nonsense, because you know full well we put in a retail consumption tax. They'll bring up the income tax. They want to have both. The answer to that is never. We will repeal the 16th Amendment. Good things will happen. Jobs will come back. Life, prosperity will return to the United States of America. Other